Hello, everybody, and welcome to Money Matters. If you like to make money and learning about crypto and other investment topics, please subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy the content, then hit that like button as well. Let's get into it. As always, this channel is devoted to your financial freedom. And as a disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor, nor do I give financial or investment advice. If you need such advice, please contact your local accredited investment advisor. Let's take a look at the market, and it looks good. Bitcoin's holding its own, as we thought, right around 58 when I was checking through the course of the day. I think that we've established pretty clearly that the strength has come back. We should, in all actuality, by the end of the week, see Bitcoin peek its head above 60,000. My guess is it'll consolidate somewhere between 62 and 58 for a while before it starts to break into some new territory. But the other bright star on this chart here is Ethereum, and OMG, it is really going up. It is really hitting it hard. To see it go above 3,000, 3,300, it's just insanity. It's amazing. It is on a run for the record books. However, I will say this, I did look at MACD and RSI today on a full chart, and I saw that there was a dip early this morning right around 7 o'clock or so, and then it pushed its way back up. But my guess is that once it gets above a certain level, and we're getting close, people will start to take profits, and it may be triggered by a news event or some celebrity saying something or whatever, who knows. But people have a lot of money sitting in Ethereum, and they want some of that money off the table. So my guess is that we're going to see some profit taking and a drop down to somewhere right around 29, where we'll reconsolidate and start to move back up throughout the rest of the year with ups and downs, finally arriving at that 7,800 sometime in December. So all good things. I've known a lot of people who actually did take profits today, right at about 33 or 32 or even lower. I didn't. I'm keeping mine in there for forever, but it's always good to take money off the table and throw it into altcoins for a while, or wait until the price drops back down and come back in. But it's on fire. It's on its own, and it's created a completely new trend and track in the market, and I'm pretty excited to see it. With all of this Ethereum talk, I thought that it would be a good time to spend a little time talking about Ethereum. What it is, what it does, what it's going to do, why it's important, and most of all, how can it make you money? So let's do that right now. Being that Ethereum has broken out on its own, we've said before, it's detached from Bitcoin, it's detached from the altcoins, it's its own unmarked territory. We can look at that as we would look at Bitcoin as a standalone type of investment. It's no longer considered just simply an altcoin. It's its own thing, where XRP and EOS and all of those would still be considered altcoins. With respect to price performance, Ethereum in just this year alone is over 340%. That's up against Bitcoin, which is right under 100%. Nothing to shake a stick at, no doubt about it. But over the last 365 days or so, Ethereum has risen over 1,000%. Imagine that, 1,000%. That's incredible. Over time, if you look back over time in history, Ethereum traditionally outperforms Bitcoin in its rate of return. There's probably a lot of reasons for that, not all of which we'll go into now, but the fact of the matter is, it happens. In fact, you've probably heard in the news a lot, because people tend to talk about things that are happening right now, which I'm doing as well. But Ethereum is performing well. It's doing amazing things. And people are actually calling for Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin in market capitalization and in price at some point in the future. Now, if you were to ask me that, I would say probably not. With its limited supply, Bitcoin will at some point in time start to grow in price at an astonishing rate. I do not think that Ethereum needs to grow to that rate. It is not capped. When they start to burn ETH, it'll help, But right now, there's way more ETH available than there is Bitcoin. And there's more and more being created every single day. So I agree that it will be big and it will be stupendous. And in fact, in utilitarian function, it will be far better than Bitcoin. It will be able to do so many more things, but Bitcoin will be the bedrock of everything that Ethereum has built on top of it. Just a point of reference. Okay, why should we pay attention to Ethereum? It's got a cool name. It's got a pretty cool logo, but why else? Let's run through the bullet points here because they're pretty important. Well, we all know it's the second largest cryptocurrency. That's a given. Ethereum powers applications, new cutting edge applications that are going to transform the world that we live in. And I know you hear that a lot, but do you really know what that means? It is unimaginable. It's the world's programmable blockchain. That is a really cool term. That's not to say it's the only one, because it is not. It was the first one, or at least the first one that I know of. But the fact of the matter is there are far more developers working in Ethereum now than on all other platforms combined. And where people are working is where the projects will be built. Where the projects are built is where the money will flow. That will not be changing. We will see other platforms prosper in the future, no doubt about it. Cardano will probably dominate Africa. They're focusing on it. They have a great agenda. They have a great plan, and they have, in my mind, superior programming technology. Not to say that it's better, but it, from a programming aspect, and I have done some programming, it is pretty tight. Not that I'm going to go out and learn Haskell or anything, but it's good. Banking for all. This is something that I just touched on in Africa. So Charles Hoskinson is looking at Africa as a test bed for his idea of changing the world. He wants banking or money or finance or opportunity to be available to the billions of people that don't have that today. That's one of his main focuses. And that's one of the main functions and benefits of this type of blockchain like Cardano or Ethereum. A more private network. Well, this goes without saying, kind of, but when you have people with good intentions build something, good things tend to be built. Ethereum was not built to ravage customer information and sell it off. Quite the opposite. It was established so that it could function on a level that would provide value to everybody, not surveillance value. It wanted to be useful. Peer-to-peer network. Well, if you want Ethereum, send me your address and I can send you Ethereum. Or better yet, I'll send you my address and you can send me Ethereum. If you have MetaMask, all you got to do is pay your fee and I can transfer it anywhere in the world. I don't need JP Morgan. I don't need Fidelity. I certainly don't need Wells Fargo. All I need is my own wallet and somebody to send, and ETH, and somebody to send it to. It's a peer-to-peer network, but it's not limited to just money. And we know that. One of the most powerful aspects of Ethereum is its ability to create smart contracts. And the term is thrown around constantly, but do you know what a smart contract is? Do you know how broad that term can be? It's amazing. It's absolutely astonishing. Smart being that I can write a contract with you saying, hey, let's make a bet. And we'll put it into a contract. Next year, the Chicago Bears are going to win the Super Bowl, and you think that the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl, even though they don't have Tom Brady. And we both bet a Bitcoin. We put together a smart contract, and it says, hey, whoever wins the Super Bowl, Bears or Patriots, each person gets, or the winner gets a Bitcoin. If neither one of those teams win, both get their Bitcoin back. That's how the contract is executed. So we wait around until next February and the Bears play the Patriots and destroy them. And I get both Bitcoin. Why? Because Chainlink, which is the oracle that's tied up to this smart contract on Ethereum, goes out and finds who the winner of the Super Bowl was, reports back to the smart contract executes, and bingo, my wallet just got bigger. That's a smart contract. But they can be far more complex than that. They could be trusts built for people to leave money to companies or their families, or they could be the sky's the limit. Your imagination is the limit. So you can start to see the power of these smart contracts. That's another thing that this network brings. A couple of other things. Censorship resistant. So Trump, love him or hate him, this whole Parler thing that came out during the election when I think it was Amazon turned off the servers for Parler, which was the social platform that they were using. Again, like them or not, that's censorship. That's taking somebody's ability to communicate to the people who want to listen to them away from them. That's control. That's a centralized control. Ethereum is not built like that. If I build an application and I put it on Ethereum or a smart contract or anything for that matter, you can't change it. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. You can't change it. It is there. It's there forever. So it's not controlled by one company. It's not controlled by one person, and it's certainly not controlled by a government. So censorship is pretty limited. And if you find a way to do it, you're a fairly clever individual. I'm not really sure why you would want to, but that's built into it as well. Commerce guarantees. And this kind of goes back to the smart contract. So again, we go back to the Super Bowl bet. How do I get my Bitcoin? How do I win my Bitcoin from you? Well, I win it after an event is verified through an oracle, something that we trust to report back and say, hey, this contract is ready to rock and roll. You can pay this guy out. So it's a very safe way of making sure things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. It's kind of interesting when you think about staking something or borrowing, let's say borrowing money from your Bitcoin account, how that works. I'm not going to go into it, but basically it's a three-party system that's established to make sure that nobody's ripping anybody else off. It can't happen. So that's how it's built. Compatibility, we touched on this earlier too. If you build it on Ethereum, it will work with anything on Ethereum. Now, you can say, well, there's other applications or other platforms that do that as well. Well, Polkadot, of course, yeah, they want to be interoperable. They want it to be so that if somebody builds something on Ethereum, they can bring it over to Polkadot. And the same thing holds true for Cardano. Exact same thing. They can, at some point in time, they'll be able to take smart contracts from Ethereum and port them over to Cardano. There's another topic that I wanted to touch on with relation to Ethereum, and it's something I'm sure a lot of you have heard about as well, and that's Ethereum 2.0. You've all heard it. We're going to talk just a little bit about it so that we can see what it's going to do to this Ethereum ecosystem for the better. I don't think there's anything for the worse, so I think it's all for the better. What is Ethereum 2.0? It is an upgrade to the Ethereum blockchain. I think the target date is somewhere, I keep hearing right around a year out. I've heard different dates, but somewhere in a year. And what it looks to do is increase the speed and the efficiency of the blockchain, how many transactions can take place at any given time, and the scalability of the network. Things like bottlenecks, like, for example, when CryptoKitties came out, and it was one application came out and it just completely locked up the Ethereum blockchain because the number of transactions was so high. This is being built to circumvent that in the future. It won't be a problem. Number of transactions won't be a problem. There's a couple of different names that this project is known by, or this upgrade is known by: Ethereum 2.0, ETH2, and Serenity, which Serenity is kind of one I hear the most often, I guess, in my readings and stuff like that. But there's two main upgrades to the Ethereum blockchain that we're going to talk about. There's a whole host of things that are going into this release, but there's two main upgrades that are going to change what we were talking about with speed and efficiency and bottlenecks and things like that. So currently, Ethereum uses proof of work, just like Bitcoin. There are people who are out there mining Ethereum. They're solving problems, they're validating transactions, just like Bitcoin. it's very energy intensive, very time consuming, and slow, really. So Ethereum is moving to a proof of stake consensus model, kind of like Cardano and some of these other, who had the advantage of being built after Ethereum, mind you. They already knew what the problems were after that, but they're addressing it now. So basically, they're flipping how validations take place. And so if you want to, instead of being a miner for Ethereum 2.0, you would be a validator, in which case you would have to stake, I think it's 32 ETH coins. And then you run a node that has to be up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I read into it one time and I was like, my internet's not that good. I don't think and they give you penalties if your internet goes down. So, and they take money away from you. So it's not for everybody. In fact, if you're running a node, you would want to run it on like AWS or something, so that you knew that it was up 99.99999% of the time. But regardless, that is going to be a major shift in the function of the blockchain for the better. It'll be much quicker. It'll be much more efficient, and that's the direction that they're heading. The other big improvement is this idea of sharding. And if you haven't heard of it before, it's a term, sharding, kind of like splitting, I guess you could call it. But basically what it's doing is it's taking a single blockchain and it's fragmenting it into many. What does that do? Well, it allows for transactions to take place at the same time on different blockchains. So in other words, the capacity of the blockchain expands tremendously. So between these two upgrades, like I said, the efficiency, the speed, and the way that the blockchain operates in a fundamental way is going to change for the better. So these are a very, very big deal. And we should see them coming within the next year or so. And once it does, you mark my words, Ethereum is going to really take off. It'll be extremely hard to catch at that point in time. Now let's talk about how Ethereum can make you money. Will it make you money? Yeah, it can. It can, and it will, and it does. Well, for a lot of people. As we said before, Ethereum tends to outperform Bitcoin consistently across the board. Bitcoin's often referred to as digital gold, and Ethereum digital oil, which I never really took much to that. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, except for one's different than the other. The way I would look at it is Bitcoin is going to become the fundamental bedrock of stored value across the globe. Ethereum will be the platform on top of that foundation on which all other financial and institutional type applications are built. That's not to say it's exclusive to finance, because it is not, clearly. Smart contract can be for many different things. There are NFTs. Well, that's not a bank. So there's a lot of different functions that are going to be built on Ethereum that we haven't even discovered yet. We haven't even heard of. So all of those will be built on top of Ethereum, which will be supported by Bitcoin. So they'll work together. And that's not to say one's better than the other, because they're both great. In fact, when we talk about diversification, which we're talking about here now, it's good to diversify. You don't want to throw all your eggs in one basket. However, you don't want to have too many eggs in too many baskets, because it's hard to track and you really don't have an idea of what your performance is going to be. So if I was to say, and this is not financial advice or investment advice, but if I was to say to somebody who really is interested in hedging their investments, they have a lot of stocks and bonds and cash and real estate, horses, whatever, and they want to get into crypto, and they want to do it in the most simple way possible, but a very effective way. I mean, this is what I would tell my kids. This is what I've told my kids and my mom and my best friend, everybody. Just take some money and dollar cost average in. Buy a little Bitcoin every week, buy a little Ethereum every week, and just let it sit there. Don't touch it. Let it go. Let it grow. Let it be. And you would be amazed at what happens to that money. You would be amazed at the growth in that investment that you will see over the next 5 or 10 years. The percentage, that's up to you. People say 80-20, 80% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum. I don't agree with that. I think that if you have a performer that's outperforming one asset over the other by the level that Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin, if you're in it to win it, you better have a heavier percent riding on Ethereum. So for me, it would be Bitcoin 60, Ethereum 40, but I have a lot of altcoins right now too. But in my ultimate holdings, that would probably be what it would be. Now, once Bitcoin gets to a certain dollar value, it's going to be much more difficult to achieve the level that you want to achieve, especially if you talk about rates of return. So at that point in time, I would probably flip my percentage over to 40% Bitcoin and 60% Ethereum for the ride up, because I do believe that the price of Ethereum is going to continue to go up for a long time. So when Bitcoin becomes $1 million per coin, and mark my words, it will, at that point in time, I'll probably be pushing a bit more into Ethereum. And I hear a lot of people saying now, but Ethereum's $3,000. Should I wait for it to drop? And I'm like, well, Bitcoin was $3,000 like a year ago. Look where it is now. Wouldn't you like to go back in time and buy Bitcoin at $3,000? I know I would. So we're coming back from the future to now with respect to Ethereum. That's the way I look at it. And hell, money is hard to come by. I know. I don't have a lot of it, but I'll tell you what I do have extra goes into Ethereum. And when I'm selling my altcoins for profit, I'm going to be putting it into Bitcoin and Ethereum, just like I always said I would. Ethereum. That's it in a nutshell. Let's do a little bit of recapping here. The market continues to show improvement, which is wonderful. All the altcoins have almost gained back most of what they lost in our last drawback, and Ethereum has just blown everything out of the water. So if you have Ethereum, you should be happy. If you don't, you should get it. Not financial advice, though. We learned about Ethereum and why it's important to you and I and the rest of the world. And there's a long list of things that make it important. We took a quick peek at ETH 2.0 to try to understand what's happening with Ethereum in the future. Is it going to get better? Yes, it is, in a big way. It's still a little ways off, but they're making incremental improvements along the way. So every day it gets better and better and better. Finally, we ascertained that Ethereum is an outstanding investment. It is one of the two, quote, blue chip cryptocurrencies or stocks or whatever. And that term blue chip came from the stock market, like IBM and Xerox and all the ones that are kind of crappy now. But back in the 60s and stuff, they were blue chip because if you put money in them, you got a dividend every year and you got all kinds of money, and they've increased in value and they were wonderful. Not to say the companies aren't wonderful. They're still good companies, but those are really the only two blue chip termed cryptocurrencies. And investing in both of them is, in my mind, not financial advice, but a smart decision and something that you would not regret in the future. I would love to hear in the comments below if you hold Ethereum and Bitcoin, and if so, what percentage? Do you agree with what we talked about here as far as investing goes and how you allocate money into those funds? Or do you have another way of doing it? I'd love to hear about it so we could share it with the group and maybe learn something. Don't forget about scammers. They're out there to take your Ethereum and to take your identity and say they're you with your Ethereum. You don't want that. And last but not least, remember, winners never quit, and quitters never win. Always give your very best effort to overcome the challenges that you face in life. I had a fantastic day, and I hope you had a fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow.